marketing consulting jobs as it relates to not only building following on social media, but also getting the word out about your product and whatnot, whatever your handle is, to your customer and consumer base.
Hi everyone, I'm Vlad, Dusil. I am the co-founder of PurseBlog.com, which is the world's leading resource and destination for luxury handbag lovers. We started 10 years ago with our blog. Shortly thereafter added a forum, which eventually turned into a women's lifestyle forum, which is about, I think, 27.5 million posts now, and is one of the, if not the biggest fashion forum online. I started with my wife, Maghan, and that's what I do.
Hi, I am Robyn Cain. I am actually the former editor of Rec San Francisco. I'm still a contributor there, but that's part of Vox Media, so it's a website that's covering fashion, beauty, retail, and fitness, and there's both the national site, rec.com, and then there are 4 city sites as well. They're focusing on more of a hyper-local focus on those topics. And more recently, I am the editorial manager for Joyus.com, which is an e-commerce company based in San Francisco that is dedicated to online video shopping for women. And so it's fashion, fitness, beauty, health, and a little bit of home. And that's what I do.
Hello everybody, my name is Nathan Johnson. I'm the co-founder of a company called Artful. We have a flagship location over on Market and Golf here in San Francisco, and it's a premium clothing company focusing mainly on suiting and shirting for men and for women. Part of the reason I'm here on this panel today is to really talk about some of the entries of barrier and how we used crowdfunding to launch our first diffusion line into the ready-to-wear space called Royalty recently this year. So it's a fun time and fun panel that we're on, so we're ready to get kicked off.
Thank you guys. First of all, I do wear the same thing twice, so don't even bother looking it up. I can't believe I set that reputation now, but anyway. But thank you guys for being here. I'm really excited to talk about it. So our theme is how enthusiasts have changed the face of the fashion industry. So first of all, I'd love to ask you guys how you define the term enthusiast, because I know we use the term tastemaker, influencer. What do you think we're talking about when we say enthusiast?
Are we going down the
Up to you.
It's interesting because I feel like a lot of times the terms get used interchangeably, and I know tastemaker was pretty hot like 6 months ago. Now I might be saying enthusiast. I think what kind of separates someone from being an enthusiast or tastemaker from someone that might just enjoy something as a passion or a hobby is the enthusiast is looking to kind of transform their idea or interest into something that's a little bit more tangible, something a little bit more not necessarily business-minded, but something that they can expand and really take their enthusiasm about a subject and share it with other people to kind of influence or grow whatever it is they're interested in to other people.
So like examples would be bloggers?
I mean, it could be someone that's really passionate about, saving wildlife for rainforest cats that's now becoming enthusiasts to the point that they're now creating content in media or organizing things to help share their enthusiasm about that subject with other people.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I think if I may pitch in real quick. So our site basically started out of enthusiasm, like my wife's enthusiasm for designer handbags, my enthusiasm for tech and for marketing. So we just started from the ground up and then eventually turned into the tastemaker. I think one of the really cool examples that I keep on bringing up is a girl named Wendy from Wendy's Lookbook, who now has, as you will know, millions of followers on social media. She actually started on our forums. She started because she was an enthusiast for designer luxury and accessories, and showed off her heels and her bags and her collection. And she realized, hey, I'm gathering all this following, and people want to see what it is that I have to say. So she started her .com and got on social, and now has an entire brand. So I think that generally the tastemakers and influencers stem from being at first enthusiastic about a particular topic, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think one of the interesting things that we're going through right now is just kind of watching how that term changes. You know, enthusiasts or influencers, or even 10 years ago, mostly came from the celebrity status. And really, what is celebrity now? When you introduce technology and things like YouTube, and how these ordinary people who were enthusiasts about their particular industry, product, whatever it is, have really now had these mass followings, which have then turned into other branches of that same following, just in a different kind of niche market. So it's been really interesting to watch it change, and I think it's something that we all deal with on a daily basis, is trying to follow how do you market to the right enthusiast to really drive product sales or drive that attention, that social media following.
So can you talk a little bit about the role of crowdfunding and do you think the idea of the enthusiast influencing fashion has maybe made a comfort with crowdfunding, or made people more open to the crowd voting on what is most popular?
And I think going just back to my last comment, I think with technology, I use YouTube as the example, but you have platforms like Kickstarter and evoke. They have opened up the door for a lot of these people who are enthusiasts that would normally not have had a chance to actually go out and create something amazing. So I mentioned earlier in my introduction that my company just released its first diffusion line, Royalty Bib, in the ready-to-wear space. It was something that we used crowdfunding to do to really truly market. We have a passion, we are enthusiastic about something. Let's go out there and prove this market before we dump a ton of capital into it, and see if we really have that following. See if we're actually speaking to the market and we have, the potential sales behind it. If not, you know that pretty quickly. I also think it's something that people really can focus on, because it is such an easy area, a barrier of entry. Ordinary people at home, moms, stay-at-home moms or whatever they are, now have an opening to go out and express themselves in a way that they wouldn't normally have in the past, and get that support from small contributions from friends, from neighbors, without having to go out and speak to a venture capitalist or a big investor of some sort.
Do you think that, do you think that more traditional brands or larger brands will start taking cues from crowdfunding and doing that themselves in some way? Or?
I think for a more traditional brand, it's probably going to devalue your brand. I mean, if Ralph Lauren had to turn around and seek crowdfunding for his next collection, we would wonder what exactly went wrong over at Ralph Lauren or Michael Kors or something like that.
So he was the original influencer in a way.
Yeah, but I mean, for a younger brand getting started, just getting started, I think that's a really smart way of actually, being able to be a designer and have someone see your designs, because otherwise, you look at people who just toil away for years working for another company. So, here in San Francisco, we have, 3 or 4 different schools with fashion programs.
Yeah.
And yes, and there's so many, I honestly don't even know how many there are. But most of those students who graduate then have to go work for another company. So, a lot of them, like a really good job straight out of fashion school, is going to be going to BCPG, and that's kind of their training wheels, and they'll learn the business there. And if they're lucky, someday they get their own label. But if you go through something like crowdfunding, and if you really work your social connections, you've got a vision. You might be able to be a 22-year-old who actually produces a line and gets their line. You might have the opportunity to walk down the street seeing someone wearing your clothes. So I think that's how it is changing it with crowdfunding.
I think it's mostly about crowdsourcing feedback and opinions nowadays. Social media has really opened up.
It is crowdsourcing in a way.
It is crowdsourcing, of course. Before a company would have had to spend thousands, if not millions of dollars on research groups and send out samples and slowly but surely get that information. And now it's basically instantaneous. Everything is shared instantaneously. You see how quickly people pick up on your hashtags, what is they say about it, how obsessed they get about it, and not to mention, everyone nowadays, everybody in this audience here can be a publisher on, it doesn't need to be fashion, it can be, whatever other topic that you're an enthusiast for. But matter of fact is that when you're using or you're reviews or you share opinions about a particular product, that company can instantaneously look at your feedback and then say, hey, you know, okay, well, so I guess there might be like a quality problem with our sneakers because, or a wallet where the stitching is bleeding into the leather. Like we need to fix that because there are people talking about it. So, that's
yeah, and I would just add that I think we're in a very interesting time as well in terms of how the technology has developed and really setting kind of the rules and parameters of how to operate within that space. And my case in point would be if you look at what's happening with a major retailer brand out there now and a woman who produced a t-shirt on Etsy and how this crowdsourcing or small town mom who produced this t-shirt has now inspired this major retailer to take a similar design. I don't know the backstory of it.
Are you talking about Target?
I don't know, I'm not going to say that. But I think it's interesting because these brands, these major retailers, major design houses before used to only look in-house for their design. But you find these influencers, you find these inspirational people, and you now have this instantaneous feedback and source of inspiration out there that, what do you do with it? I mean, what's the right move for her? What's the right move for their major retailer brand? I mean, it's an area that is still unexplored in my mind.
So if the major brands aren't crowdsourcing in the traditional sense, they are using influencers and enthusiasts in their marketing more to share their message. So in what ways are you guys seeing these enthusiasts shape major fashion moves?
I mean, one of the things that immediately comes to mind when you're talking about enthusiasts or influencers in the fashion space is going to be bloggers. And I mean, they have changed the landscape because suddenly anyone can be a fashion authority, and that's a really cool thing. I mean, it really has democratized fashion in a number of ways. And what I think is interesting, one of the things that we were talking about before, is that bloggers have been able to, you know, monetize this. And I mean, think about it, 10 years ago, would Blogger have been a full-time job for as many people as it is today? And it's kind of crazy. It's a whole new industry in that regard. And the idea that you can take pretty pictures of yourself and then someone would keep sending you clothes and maybe some money for that too. I mean, that's mind-blowing at that point. So the fact that that is a real thing now just shows you part of the changing landscape. But I think, you know, what we also see is with affiliate links, you know, with programs like, you know, whether it's Amazon or Reward Style or, you know, BitchLink, anything else, when you've got affiliate linkage and you're monetizing that influence, not only does anyone have the power to be an influencer, but if you have a large enough social imprint, then the, you know, influence can be your job. So, does anyone else have something to add to that? Or?
Well, I think that's a really interesting point to hear Robyn say that because, you know, from a business owner myself, it's always hard to get in front of the right person. And as we've kind of grown with the internet and technology, and you've seen the introduction of things like full-time blogger positions, you have spread your audience so thin. I mean, we're only a finite amount of people, but now we have all these different influences peppering us with information, images, trying to get our attention, trying to get our money. And how do you navigate those waters to get your product in front of the right people when they may be following several that you want in front of right now? And that's the importance of these influencers, because it's all about getting the attention of the readers, of the people they are influenced, because that's your target market. That's who you're going after, and it's much more difficult to do that now versus 10 years ago when you were going to major department stores, major retailers, saying people are looking just to you, like they just want to follow your feed. Now they're feeding Robyn on her Twitter feed. So it's a changing landscape.
Yeah, well, that actually goes into my next question: is how do you determine someone's sphere of influence, and how do you determine if they actually are influential or if it's just a numbers game? Like, as a brand, how do you choose that? And as a people who blog, how do you prove that you're influential?
So I guess for me personally, because I've been on both sides, I've helped companies build a marketing program around using influencers, and then I've been on the side of companies approaching me from the marketing department looking to network and market through me. And one of the things that I really advocate for is for the companies that are reaching out to have some sort of way to measure their results. And it it's not just the companies that are small startups, it's all the way up to big companies like Foot Locker who do, in my opinion, a largely ineffective way of measuring if their ad dollars are really being spent effectively. And what I really like and what I've been able to use and leverage is I can now go to companies with Adidas and say, hey, listen, here's product sales I made this month regarding your new Adidas Ultra Boost. This is a sneaker I went out and purchased, and this is kind of the buzz interaction I made around it. Because they want to see some sort of numbers behind it. And when you can say, yeah, we also did, you know, almost $10,000 of product sales around this one product in the 2 videos we put out, all of a sudden they start, you know, listening, and they're a little bit more apt to have that conversation with you, because now they can go back to whoever it is they report to and say, you know, because they're going to hit that question, well, is it effective? Yeah, we can send them shoes, yeah, we can send them money, but are we going to get a return? And then I can work with companies and really let them know how effective their marketing has been. So if you're a retailer looking to work with influencers, and you're not holding yourself and them accountable for having some sort of way of measuring their success, whether it's you're trying to get clicks to your blog or you're trying to get actual sales, if you can't measure that, in my opinion, and that person is not willing to work with you to measure it, then you're wasting money, because you'll really never know unless you measure it.
Speaking of wasting money, how's that for a soundbite? Anyway, so you know, this whole discussion is a little frustrating to me because, you know, I've been in the affiliate space for, all in all, probably 12, 13 years, and in the fashion industry for 10 years. And we built our business, and it was self-sustaining from, you know, the first minute, thanks to affiliate marketing, right? And now that I see how Robyn said, you know, we have the democratization of the internet, and we have these celebrities, and it is genuinely celebrities that have this elevated status because they're gathering all this attention, and they have millions of followers. And
So when you say celebrities, you mean bloggers, not like
bloggers,
actors.
yeah, not. Well, what is an actual celebrity?
Well, like actors and actresses, or like
No,
music
I'm
stars.
talking bloggers.
Yeah.
I'm talking girls who take pretty selfies, which is fantastic, and I praise them for building strong brands around it, and it's mind-boggling. And then along with that comes then an Instagram social media strategy. And also as of late, you see many of these bloggers actually transitioning from not really putting as much focus into their websites anymore, but really just focusing on Instagram. And as an effect, they have then agents that represent them. And following down the same line, you then have major retailers and brands who are willing to spend upwards of $15,000, $20,000 an image on Instagram for a Instagram celebrity who may have a 1 million, 1.5 million people following. Now, you know, you correctly pointed out, there has to be some sort of tracking. And through Instagram, yeah, you can argue that it's brand marketing, and that's fantastic. However, again, like, is there really going to be that long-term ROI, or are we really sitting in a bubble? When is it that large retailers who may have, you know, an extensive budget to throw at, because it's like the thing to do now, right? Everybody's like, I don't want to miss out. Like, I need to see my product on this girl or, you know, that blogger or that guru, because everybody else is doing it, so I must do it too. But really, when you then add up, you know, the second and a half of interaction with the image, there's no click out, there's no point of sale on Instagram in particular. So it's like, is that really worth it? But it's working, it's happening. I'm just wondering how long that's going to be able to sustain itself, this particular model.
Yeah, and it's, in my opinion, it's not sustainable. And like you said, even if
Just
you
too
take
many bloggers?
no, I mean, spending money on that one-time impression, if you've taken any business class, whether you went to a business school or just had a general understanding of the field, you understand that to really enforce your brand with someone, it takes multiple impressions before you actually have that brand recognition to the point where the customer might go out to a store and say, I recognize seeing that on that person. Now, are they purchasing it because they saw it on the person, or are they purchasing it because they went and did other research? There's this huge gap in information from the time that person spends money to get the product there. And why, as a marketer, would you spend money when there's an information gap, when you can instead spend money and, you know, be told exactly how many clickouts went to a certain place, how many sales were generated from that,
there's no on-field longevity whatsoever with an Instagram picture. I mean, it flashes by someone, and I'm not saying that it's not going to get a ton of, double tap likes. It might get, 150,000, but is that really is the millennial that is looking at her phone while she's, waiting for the subway, is she really going to be then spending $3,500 on a new Givenchy Antigona bag?
And I think the place where it does become useful though is if you get it on the right influencer. And I would say this goes back to the traditional idea of what a celebrity is, right? Kanye West, for instance, Kanye West wore a pair of Adidas Ultra Boosts. These things were sitting on shelves. They were not selling. They were under retail. He posted them on an Instagram photo. Adidas paid to get them there. That photo was reposted. The reach was amplified. So whenever you can spend ad dollars to get it outside of the initial reach, I think it's money well spent. All of a sudden, the product is off the shelves. There's no gap in why this is specifically because of this photo that was posted to his outlet that was then amplified. So if you're going to spend ad dollars, you want to reach the right person where their own fan base, their own users are going to repost that photo. Then there becomes more value. But if you're just picking up some, as I think we've talked about, these plainclothes people that have now become influencers or celebrities in their own space, if I post an awesome photo of my Yeezy Boost sneakers, no one else is going to repost that. Someone might make a purchasing decision from it, but no one's reposting and talking about it in the way that someone that might be viewed a traditional celebrity would be reposted about.
But I mean, don't you think there's an argument to be made for brands building recognition and reputation and not just, sales that are so obvious, but more just like you said, the recognition, just like the classic traditional advertising, you kind of shotgun technique it and hope that eventually the message hits home.
I mean, it depends on the outlets. I built a campaign with Saucony that was struggling to build their originals market in the United States, and we picked about 10 influencers that were in the YouTube space to share the product and get it in front of people. We, again, had that gap where we weren't sure if people were making purchasing decisions from it, but then the time came around where they had a special launch where we did measure the sales, and affiliate sales accounted for 60% of the launch that what would be an inline, just a normal non-energy product, and that product sold through 100% because of that. So then I think if you're going to have a campaign, you have to see it all the way through and make sure you have benchmarks and checkpoints so you can see if it's working. It has to be multifaceted. It can't just be one thing and then hope that it works. You have to follow through all the steps. Yeah.
And that's very true. And we've been really focusing on the Instagram platform itself, which is just because that pops up. But the good and the bad about the internet is that it lasts forever. We've been published in several different publications here in San Francisco. I am always surprised when people dig up our stuff a year later and come in and say, "Hey, I saw you in this article," and it's like, well, that was last year, and you're just finding it now. Things like the images, yes, you can share and get outside of that influence, but you never know when someone's going to dig that up. You never know when they're actually going to pull that image off of Instagram and share it with you, right? It lives on in perpetuity, and that's why those marketing dollars are so hard, because it's the same thing like just buying ads on Facebook or buying ads on Google. You never know really how much you're going to buy. Or how much you're actually going to get back on that ROI. Sure, you're going to get click-throughs, but does that always get you to a sale? Does that always make the right impression? I mean, what if it's the wrong person? And so you have to be very selective in your marketing plan, and as Tyler said, you have to make sure you see it through. And those checkpoints are very, very important for any retailer and any influencer, just because you have to know when to cut yourself off. For me, and one of the things I think is really beneficial for having these other enthusiasts come out in the world is because they're not always dealing with a major retailer, because they're trying to make it themselves, more often than not, I think businesses are able to expand and kind of be flexible in the marketing plan. They're more apt to try different types of marketing. I'm targeting teens in this one, I'm targeting 30 to 40-year-olds in this one, and see which one plays better. Twitter, do you tweet in the morning, do you tweet in the evening? Which one is getting the better response? And I think businesses now have such a variety of marketing options in front of them. It's a matter of trial and error to figure out which one works for you and which influencer works for you, which one has your money you're going for.
So do you guys think it's better to work with someone who has a larger following as far as numbers, or someone who's more specific to your audience, say a shoe enthusiast or a purse enthusiast? Because
conversion, you want somebody who's more targeted towards your audience. And I mean, as much as, you know, for a small brand, for a large brand, for any brand, you know, if you've got Jane Aldridge from Sea of Shoes who's, you know, wearing your shoes or your jeans or your bag and saying, I love this, you know, you're probably going to see some traction, but that's, you know, a one-time thing. Now, if it happens organically, fantastic. If you're actually paid to work with someone like that, that's going to cost you, so that's not something that a younger brand can do as easily. But as far as what I see as more effective brand marketing, you know, everyone looks at those, I call them like the tier A bloggers, you know, tier A, tier 1. And, you know, those are the ones who are really making a very solid living, and if you follow them on Instagram, they're traveling all around the world all the time. It looks pretty great. Then you get into like the tier Bs and the tier Cs, and I think there's a lot to be said for those tier B and tier C bloggers because they're hungry, and they are going to promote your brand when they can get a deal with you. So, I mean, you know, from the perspective of, you know, actually working on the retailer side now, you know, if super famous blogger came along and said, hey, I love Joyus, I would be really excited, and I would retweet that and regram it and post it on Facebook and maybe tattoo it across my face, I don't know. I would be psyched. But as far as who I think, if we were actually going to partner with someone in that space, I would actually look at a series of bloggers, you know, nationally. I would take more of a hyper-local focus. If that was going to be part of my social media plan, because I see it as, you know, you're connecting a person who has a strong relationship with people in his or her community, and they really do value what that person says. They're more likely to go buy based on what that person says instead of just dreaming based on what one of these tier A bloggers is saying or wearing. And because each of those tier B and tier C bloggers wants to be a tier A because they want the jet-setting lifestyle, they're really going to work hard to make sure that those impressions count and that they can get a better campaign later on. So, I mean, from a dollars standpoint, I mean, definitely going along with what Tyler and Vlad are saying, you know, look at your metrics. I mean, you need to be able to show return on investment. But I think that there's a way to approach fashion in this enthusiast industry other than just reaching for that top tier every time.
Because I think with the top tier, you're going to get oftentimes a large following of people who aspire to, at some point, become that person, right? Wear those, you know, Louboutin high heels and those, you know, $8,000 Chanel flat bags and stuff like that. So as a brand, I think, you know, like you said correctly, you have to look at your metrics and you have to define what is it that you want to do. Do you want to imprint your brand within, you know, possibly a younger audience that will then, once they become affluent enough to really, you know, once they come from being aspirational to actually have that traction, purchasing power, you know, do you want to target these people or do you want to actually generate that traction now?
I was going to ask that.
You know, and one of my favorite memories as of late was we had this wonderful ad campaign with a major European fashion brand, and they ran it right around Christmas time, and they ran it on a bunch of different outlets. And then a friend of ours who works for that company, you know, a few months down the road, we were out over drinks, and she said, you know, we went to site A, B, C, and D, major fashion players, but as for actual conversion, she said, nobody at my company seems to really care about conversion, but when I look at these conversions, you guys were number one. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. That's good, because I know that it works that way because I've been tracking it through affiliate marketing and through, you know, a company like TBlake that helps monetize our forums in particular. I know that people are really cool if you guys are into puppies and bags. Check out Purses and Paws. It's a new account. It's really cute. Anyway, you know, but I know that these people are shoppers. They editorial team, you know, whatever it is that they share that they're enthusiastic about, shopper then comes to our site for advice, and they're like, well, I guess I'm gonna buy this. So it really depends, you know, the brand. What do you want? Do you want the sales generator right now, or do you want to think more long term and, you know, like brand marketing stuff? So and so forth.
And I think getting back to what was said earlier about the different tiers of bloggers or different tiers of enthusiasts, I think if you're sitting here and you have your own company, you're looking to find these people, I think, especially in the fashion space, which is awesome, is you can already figure out who it is that's organically talking about your brand. Everyone in this room has their own brand advocates that are not being paid right now to be extraordinary advocates for your brand. And anytime you as a brand can reach out to that person and let them know that you appreciate them and hook them up, they're going to work that much harder for you. I think when you consistently try to hit the top blogs, the top page, I think the readers have a skill of seeing who has an authentic voice. I think in this industry, trust is probably the most powerful currency, and one of the things that helps keep influential voices influential is feeling that their customer, your following can trust you.
How do you maintain that trust?
Well, for me, I bash brands that would pay me potentially to work with them. When Jordan Brand puts out trash product, I say this is trash, this is garbage.
So what if, like, they sent you something and no expectations,
I
and they're paying you?
So if I, first of all, I try to work with brands that are willing, if a brand wants to send me something and it doesn't align with my core brand identity, I tell them that this doesn't align with my core brand identity. Here's some people that I think might be great for you.
So-
Contact them. So I don't burn the bridge that way. But the other thing too is like, if they want to send me, if they also, sometimes companies will surprise send me stuff out of the blue, like, oh, you know, we sent you it, so you have to post about it. It just either goes to like, you know, a local charity by my house where kids get lace up like sick kicks and stuff. or it just doesn't get posted because I value, more than anything, I value my personal brand and the trust that I've built with my followers, and there is a super high price that would have to be paid to get me to put something in front of my audience that doesn't align with my following. And I tell retailers too, I'm like, listen, you guys are spending money with me because you want the best results. I can't give you the best results of this product. And a lot of times retailers really appreciate that. You know, some people feel like they'll get blacklisted from it. I have retailers come back next time there's something that works out.
So they don't hold a grudge?
They don't hold a grudge because they appreciate that honesty. I mean,
Right.
it's hard to get mad if I'm telling you that, you know, look, I want what's best for both of us. I'm not the best person for this, and then because this fashion industry is so small, it's so easy to send into someone that is really hyped up about the latest Jordan sneaker, that can be a good brand advocate, and that person that you hook up is going to refer you next time there's something they get that they don't necessarily work with, and I think it helps everyone, from the person that's the brand sending the product to the person that's reviewing or talking about it. I think it betters everyone, just having that open communication.
Yeah, I was actually going to add that point. That's a very, very real point. So it's a two-way street, and it doesn't always work out for each other's benefit. You have to, I would again go back to kind of the trial and error of finding that right blogger or that right influencer, because, you know, this tier B and tier C blogger, though they may be interested and want to promote your brand, they already have their voice. So I can send somebody a suit, but if, you know, their followers are just looking for flip-flops and shorts, that doesn't do me any good, but that person may be willing to take the blog just because they're getting paid to do it. Again, going back to what Tyler said, I mean, the other thing is, the honesty goes a long way because they have their voice, they don't want to ruin that. If you want to be authentic to your followers, you're only going to put things forward that make sense for you. And as a retailer, I can say, that helps us out. That helps us know who your audience is, so when something does come down the line that we actually think you may be interested in, then we can reach back out. And there's definitely a two-way street when it comes to finding that right blogger and that right influencer to reach the market that you want to get in front of. Because that's overall where you're going to get your ROI. Right? They can have a small following, but if everybody is really excited about, you know, those those Jordans, that small market may go out and purchase much more frequently than somebody who has 10,000 and only 2 people interested in shoes.
So I was going to ask your advice for brands working with influencers and enthusiasts like you were saying, Vlad, the very aspirational products, do you even see a value with them working with these influencers when most of the readers can't, actually access those products?
Absolutely. I mean, just because you absolutely should. However, you really have to, again, looping back, you need to figure out, would it make more sense for me as a brand, as a retailer, to sort of, collaborate with one of these tastemakers, but choose a more reasonable, entry point and price point for products. It might be, for us, it might be something like, smaller accessories, smaller leather goods. It might be something like, beauty, cosmetics. They're very attainable. So, I think the tricky part is that, the influencer, the blogger needs to figure out, like, where does their integrity lie? Obviously, it's very easy to be, swooned by this wonderful, colorful world of high-end luxury that eventually is going to be thrown at you, and I'm sure that, the aspirational crowd that follows you is going to be all over it because they want to see the flashy stuff. Like if I follow, a watch blog, I want to see the $300,000 Patek Philippe, I want to see the gold-plated sneakers that are a one-off because stuff is exciting and it's, unattainable, but
it's not. It's
cool.
Also, and it's cool, but and it's good to have that content, and that's how you kind of have you generate your own clout in whatever sphere it is. But at the end of the day, you really need to make sure, if you're at least trying to monetize your platform, that you understand what your audience is buying and cater to them. So I recently switched up. I made a segment into my brand to have a website that just is dedicated to sneakers under cost. And that was an awesome move because now I build more trust in my following. I'm helping a world where everyone's trying to promote whatever is the highest, revenue creating product for them. Now I'm catering to my bulk of my audience that, they're 10 to 17 years old that just got their paycheck and maybe they only have $70 to $100 to spend to that person, and they're coming back to me because they know I have their best interest in heart. But at the same time, I'll go out and work with, sneaker customizer to get a one-of-one. I think I did show these Easy Boost here. You make a one-of-one of them so that you have that kind of clout and you have people that come to your page just to see what are they going to do next. And then I have that added brand value where it's like, I come there to see what the latest purse is, but I can also come there to see, what's a good alternative or what's a good, consolation prize I can get. I missed out on that one, but I'm really interested in the other, leather good or whatever it is. So, yeah, I think that's like a really good practice as someone that's blogging or something. Just always have that alternative.
Because you can never leave out the aspirational purchaser. That's a very important market. So whether it's
Maybe
a
one
high
day they
school
will be able
kid,
to
Once
afford it.
they do get there, you very well might have influenced their purchase decision to get there.
Yeah.
You said that kid's like, all right, I know I can't cop the Easy Boost this week, but I really like the Ultra Boost I saw Kanye wearing. I'm gonna get a colorway for myself, and then they start, they cop that because of you, and then they work their way to that next thing, and they're still coming back to the site as their taste change and everything. They're coming back to you to kind of.
Is there something called the Holy Grail in your industry? Because on our side there's that Holy Grail bag, right? The one that's like always just like that little bit away.
Yeah.
But you want it so bad.
Yeah.
And then once you have it, it's like, my new HG is, that $30,000 Birkin bag or something.
Yeah.
So I think that's really what drives retail forward is people's just desires for shiny, wonderful stuff. It's like the precious, right? That you want to have.
And I think as a brand too, though, you want to avoid the influencer that's goal is to try to be the biggest consumer, because I think a lot of times there's some people that have a lot of clout and following, but not a lot of influence, if that makes sense. And these are the people that are trying to be the biggest consumer. They're trying to buy whatever the next thing is, whatever this is. And as a person that's making a purchasing decision, you might come to see what it is, but you have a disconnect from that person. They're not necessarily offering you advice or insights or information about the sneaker or information about the person, the story, and the heritage. And that person putting your product in front of their audience may not be the best place as a person that can really, again, getting back to what I said about brand advocates. You as a brand want to find the person that's going to work the hardest for you and be the best possible brand advocate. And it also has to be a two-way street. You have to work with that influencer to get to know them to the point where you're really working in collaboration with them to arm them with the best possible information to be brand advocates for whatever it is.
I think the word collaboration is really key because I think as a reporter we see people writing and I want to write a story on them and they say, oh, I'm looking forward to collaborate. And I'm like, no, we're not collaborating. It's a different world. So I think that's like a new word that you guys use. But I want to open up to questions because we only have a few minutes left. So does anyone, Tom, does anyone have any questions? Briefly? Yes.
In terms of men's fashion.
There's the mic.
There's a
There you go.
Wow.
In terms of men's fashion specifically, what I see from the consumer level is a huge driving force from the NBA at this point, as well as the attempt from Silicon Valley. To what extent does cross-niche marketing work in the fashion industry?
For menswear brands, you basically can't do any better than getting a professional athlete who is going to be behind your clothing. Talk about the holy grail for a consumer campaign on men's. That is your holy grail.
I think you had some experience with that too. With
Yeah, I mean, celebrity status always helps. We dress an individual in the Warriors and talk about influencers. We actually had people, we posted a picture of a jacket we made for this gentleman, and we had several people come in and say, well, he's wearing it, so therefore it's good enough for me, and just straight up on that way. I think one of the interesting things that we're seeing now coming out of Silicon Valley when it comes to fashion is, quite frankly, smoke and mirrors. I mean, I just saw something the other day where there was a drone carrying a dress down the runway, and it's like, people are doing all like the next big fancy show for the runway, but really what are they making? They're making clothes. Is anybody going to wear something carried by a drone? It's just a different display. It's kind of smoke and mirrors to get people focused less about the fashion and the quality and the product itself than it is about the experience of something new and being part of that in that moment.
And I think it's even more powerful of a purchase influencer to see someone who's not in the industry. So say, for example, someone in the entertainment industry, movies, or an athlete, if they then manage to leverage their celebrity in order to market a product, like an accessory, a clothing line, something like that, you're more likely to get that blind purchasing willingness. Like you said, like I don't care whether it fits well, he was wearing it, I must have it. Just because it's less expected. Like someone who's an industry celebrity, be like, oh yeah, just another fancy jacket of this person. Yeah, I don't like it, but when Kobe's wearing it, I'm like, whoa.
do we have time for one more question, or do we need to wrap up? One more? Okay, let's do one more question.
There's two more questions.
Oh gosh. Okay, we'll go with you first, and then you next. But panelists, keep the time.
So I know that especially when you said that Tier B and Tier C bloggers gets really hungry and they do a lot of things to get a lot of followers, like going meetup group or like even go as to the extreme of purchasing followers. So as a company, how do I differentiate follower A who has genuine blogger A who has genuine followers and blogger B who might get these followers through, these trickery campaign, and you don't have much time to do collaboration, so you have already worked with one blogger and you kind of trust their reputations, and the only reputation you get is the matrix, which is the numbers of followers and number of likes. So
how do you determine authenticity is what you're saying?
Yes.
So to me, in that case, it's a good example of you need to work with someone that is able to measure it for you. I mean, if they're not, you can make up
And the blogger has to
followers.
self-report?
I could buy 10,000 likes for $5. I could buy 5,000 followers for $5 on Fiverr.com. But know what I can't do? I can't make 37 purchasing actions on Adidas for $5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You need to, if that's the case and that's where your brand is, if you have any doubt, you need to find a person that's going to work with you to create measurable sales, whether it's offering that person a promotional coupon to use your site if you're not a affiliated with the website, or you do have an affiliation where you can track it, it just has to be tracked. Because it's definitely a hard thing to do, is to determine if it's real or not.
And reputation goes a long way too. Like if you cheat, people will know. If you suddenly start gaining all this influence out of nowhere, even though you're not differentiating yourself in the content you're putting out there, then people will be like, ah, okay, yeah, that's a legitimate knot, you know. So.
And that's a good reason to have like a specific niche as far as shoes or blogs, because then if you start recommending something random, it's obviously not as trustworthy.
Right.
One last question, real quick. Did I start? Oh yeah.
Yeah, hi. Can you offer any tips on how non-clothing lifestyle products can partner or collaborate on promotional projects with clothing producers?
With like clothing bloggers or like apparel
Clothing
bloggers?
manufacturers, clothing designers, clothing products. So, for example, say I've got an electronics entertainment product, and I want to show somebody in an advertisement wearing some clothing and using that product, and sort of collaborate with the clothing designers or producers in a joint promotion. Does that make any sense, or is that just a completely bad idea?
I don't know. I think that would have to be something where you'd have to reach out to the other brands and see if they're interested. I mean, you might be able to pile your advertising dollars into getting, you know, one NBA athlete to wear clothing and play a game or use an electronic at the same time. But
Well, I guess like something like Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week, that was a car company partnering with Fashion Week, but I mean, they're not able to get any more car sponsors for Fashion
Yeah,
Week,
they
so
pulled
maybe
out,
it
so
didn't
that didn't work out.
Maybe it's not working out after all. That would be one example.
Well, I'd also say, I think, you know, just adding to what Robyn said, it's finding out what story you want to tell, right? So we have people reaching out to my company for things like accessories. Are you willing to, you know, sell my billfold in your store along with your suits and your shirts and all your other clothing? You know, and then we have to consider the product, have to work with them. Is this individual trustworthy? Do I like the clothes? Does it really complement the story we're trying to create as a brand? And see if that makes sense. But you know, I think you have to do your basic research to figure out what story are you trying to tell, what partners make sense for you, and just start reaching out to people and seeing what you can do.
Thanks.
Well, thank you guys so much. This has been really fun, really interesting.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.